Okay, well, good Tuesday morning all. I'm do my commute this morning a little differently. I'm going to take the new Cub out and just take surface streets to my destination. Get a few more miles on the motor to get it broken in. So today's exercise is the 2019 Honda Cub. Will it commute? I have no doubt that it will. I think it's going to do fine. Won't be able to take it up on the highway, of course, but surface streets should be just fine. It's a little chilly this morning. We're, I guess, low 50s, mid 50s maybe. Our petrochemical fire is still burning. This is the third or fourth day now. We're still dealing with the smoke and the soot and whatnot. We didn't have to deal with it too much here in Katy area yesterday, but just because of the wind direction. But it looks like it's going to be heading more our way today, like right across the city of Houston itself. The winds are shifting coming out of the east, so that's going to bring it right to us. There's no luggage on this thing, so I'm rocking the GoPro backpack this morning. I've got I forget what they call this thing, but it's the second iteration of GoPro's backpack. It works all right. It's not really a moto backpack. There are no reflective elements or any moto-specific stuff on it, but it's a good all-purpose backpack. A little narrow, but it holds a surprising amount of gear. I've managed to pack 3 laptops in this thing at once. Not today, but on previous occasions. So I have 51 miles on the odometer now. By the end of today's commute, it's probably going to be somewhere near 100. Got about 35-mile commute that I've got to do, 40 miles maybe. Depends on how much running around I do. There's that resting the heel on the shifter. I really do need to get these mirrors addressed. I think I'll order those. I'm going to do bar-end mirrors on it temporarily, see how that works out. Probably get the CRG Lane-splitters. I like those. I've had them on other bikes in the past. They're a little spendy. They're sold each, and you usually have to get CRG's bar end adapter. It's a billet insert that gives you an extension to the bar, and that's where you clamp the mirror onto. But they're a little pricey. Let's say they're 75, 80 bucks each, so it's 160 bucks for a set of mirrors plus the bar end adapters. So, I don't know. See if I can find a cheaper alternative. I do like the CRGs though, because the optics on it are very good. They're very clear, and it's got a good convex shape to it, so you get to see quite a bit around you. And they have the folding hinge with a ball detent on it, so you can flip them in and flip them right back, and they snap back to their previous position. So that's kind of cool. I've said before, we don't have legal lane splitting here in Houston, but I guess when I need to do it, I do it. Folding bar end gives me a little bit more room to maneuver. Of course, this thing is so narrow. I haven't measured or looked at the exact specs of the handlebars, the overall width, but I'd guess that it's narrower than my shoulders are, pretty close to it. So if I could walk through something without shifting sideways, then the Cub could do the same. They're finally putting up those speed strips. I just rolled over one of them. It's good. They're trying to get ideas on the traffic speeds and metrics around here. Bus, if you're not going to pass me, I'm going. People just go too fast through this part of town. I don't really know what the hurry is, other than it's Houston and everybody wants to go fast. Yeehaw, missed that gear. All of these surface streets through here, people are doing 25 over and then some. It's getting so busy here. Air is cold this morning. Oh, there's a constable. I think that may be part of the issue here in Houston. We don't have enough law enforcement presence, I don't think, compared to other cities. Per capita, we are way down on the statistics as far as peace officers per people. So that means there's a lot less traffic enforcement going on out there, and people are just forgetting, speed limits do exist for a reason. Nobody likes to obey a speed limit for, fascist purposes, rules for the sake of rules, but the limit gives everybody the way to kind of approximate the flow of traffic, figure out how fast people are going to be approaching them, how fast they'll pass them, intersection work, etc. So when you get everybody, or at least half of the flow, that's doing nearly double the posted speed limit in a lot of these surface streets these days, it makes navigating so much more dangerous. I'm sure if you want to haul ass out on the highway, that's okay, as long as there's no merges and you're not shoving people into the retaining walls. Power to you. But surface streets, man, just don't do it. 10 over, that's really pushing already. That's just my rant on the speeding thing. I don't speed in school zones, parking lots, neighborhoods, anywhere where there's a high chance of someone or something jumping out in front of you, because that changes a life instantly. Give up that few extra minutes of your life, a few extra seconds, and you're not gaining that much by speeding through a neighborhood. Just give those few seconds of your life up, chill out, relax, slow down, wait till you get out on the main street, main road, highway, whatever, then haul ass, make up your time, whatever. Better yet, just get up earlier. Give yourself plenty of extra time. Wake up an hour early, hour and a half early. Do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, make yourself breakfast. I'm driving around the world to my left again. I've really got to get in the habit of mashing that button. It's a little harder, stiffer detent than my other Hondas. It's all very similar switch cluster here as the other Hondas, the PCXs, my CB series, all that. Just seems to be a little harder to cancel it out. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. Time will tell. So I'm recording with my second GoPro Hero 7 again today. This thing has got crazy good battery life compared to my other one. I don't know what the deal with that one is. I even tried a factory reset on my original Hero 7. Made sure the firmware is updated, swapped out batteries, swapped out SD cards, changed everything I could. But it still doesn't want to get past about 30 minutes of battery. 35 is the best I get out of it. And it's the one that has the propensity for corrupting video footage. And like the built-in gauges and stuff don't work with this squat. They'll work, but then they freeze at high values until you go back through and get past that value, and then it starts counting again. I don't know what that's about. It might just be a defective unit. got most of my gear, or all of my gear actually. Well, no, that first one I didn't get. On this trade-in deal for GoPro, they were doing a $100 credit. Trade in any old crappy camera, it doesn't matter if it even works, and they'll give you $100 off the GoPros. So I traded in a couple of my old digital cameras, still cameras, and got the second Hero 7 and my Fusion 360 that way. The first GoPro 7 I purchased middle of last year, before my son and I did the Formula One races up at Coda. I still haven't edited or uploaded any of that footage. I guess I will one of these days. So that first one I paid full price for. And boy, do they want a king's ransom for them. $3.99. Cub doesn't have quite as much squirt as the Riker or any of my other bikes, so I'm not going to press my luck jumping out there in front of traffic. Just take it easy. Hey, I didn't reach for fifth gear this time. I don't know, I'm getting used to this backpack on my back. I don't usually like moto backpacks, or commuting with a backpack on. I've done it for years off and on. I just don't like something pulling on my shoulders. I like the freedom of movement, so I prefer to put a top box or panniers or something on the bike and keep the weight down low and on the bike instead of on me. If I can find a nice, stylish, retro-inspired moto backpack, I might do that for this. I do want to put the panniers on here, though. I've already got a set. Just need to modify them to fit, and I've got to figure out where to get the rack. Honda USA, they still don't have the accessories for the Cub listed. They got stuff for the Monkey and a Grom listed in their accessory site, but the Super Cub is not even in the category list. I guess they don't sell it yet. Could always order it out of one of the other markets, Japan, whatever, but I like ordering stuff through my dealer. Got a good relationship with them. They're always good to me. They give me discounts on most of the stuff because I'm one of their frequent flyers, so waiting for them to get their updated catalog stuff, and I'll order that, get it in, put it on, do a review of that, and then probably that day or the following day I'm going to have my panniers modified by a local alteration shop, clothing shop, whatever. It doesn't matter, anybody can do it except me, because I don't know how to sew. So I'll have that yoke between the pannier bags zip down the middle and hem the open seam up to where it doesn't get nasty or dirty or fall apart, and then put some Velcro straps laterally in 2 or 3 positions. That way I can vary the width between the two halves. I usually listen to music on my commutes and my cardo, but I think I mentioned it before, on new bikes I don't. I like to hear the bike and get used to the mechanical noises and eccentricities and anything else that might be going on, weird rattles, clunks, thumps, anything that might alert me to a problem. Once you get used to a machine, you kind of know its vibrations and you can feel it, so you don't need to necessarily hear it as much. I am clogged up, snotty this morning. Grass pollen and oak pollen are in the extreme category in Houston today. Oh goody. seat's pretty comfortable in the Cub. Don't have any complaints there. It's firm, but comfortable enough for the kind of duties it's expected to do. If I cannonball this thing, I'll get a small Airhawk that'll fit it. That big cruiser Airhawk that I have for my other bikes, and for the Riker, that certainly won't fit this seat. It'll be too big. So a scooter comparison, Cub to scooter comparo. The PCX is probably something that most people are going to compare against right away, because it's also in the Honda lineup. It's roughly the same displacement. For commuting duties, I would probably give the edge to the PCX just for the comfort, the wind protection, speed and acceleration. Obviously, are going to be a little better on that. The Cub is more of a runaround, a surface street tool, kind of bashing around the city. The wheels and suspension on it are very good. I would say that they actually feel a little better than the PCX does in its stock form. But overall, just for commute-ability, the PCX has probably got the nod. But time will tell as this breaks in and get more used to it. Another Cub to scooter comparo. Obviously, they're not quite in the same league, but just speed-wise, just cruising along like this, I'm rolling along at 45 to 47, and it's very comfortable there. My Yamaha C3 scooter, I've got a variator and de-restrictor in that one, and that's its top speed is about 47, and you can just ring the throttle out, leave it there wide open all day long, and it doesn't have a care in the world. It gets even wide open throttle. It'll get 115 miles to the gallon. The Cub will obviously go faster than that, but it feels like its comfortable speed is right around 45, 50. Now, a gearing change might fix that or alter that a little bit. Do a +1 on the front, or drop a couple teeth in the back, and that might make this thing a little bit more highway friendly as far as long-term high speeds. What is this guy doing? He just parked in the middle of the road. She's just on her phone. Okay, that's good. And she's sitting there just texting away. Oh, I guess I'm not going that way. See, again, somebody snuck up in my blind spot there. You can't see anything with these mirrors. These things are no bueno. They gotta go. Yeah, you really can't see anything unless you're sitting sideways on the bike or cocked on the bike and crane your neck around and move your arm out of the way. Maybe for a female, somebody very, very small in stature, very narrow, you might be able to see past yourself. I don't know. I'm not a big guy, but I am a little wide. I'm kind of stocky. Wide shoulders and thick torso. And with as small as the front end is on this thing, I don't know what its visibility is lighting-wise. I'm probably going to put some conspicuity lighting on the front of it. And the other thing is that narrow front, I don't know what kind of real estate there is under there for a horn. The factory horn's pretty wimpy. Dude, go. The factory horn's pretty dinky, of course. It's a small bike. I like to upgrade the horn on all my machines to something that's a little more attention-grabbing. So I'm going to have to figure out how big a space there is in there to replace that factory horn. This thing rides really well. I'm impressed with the ride quality. over bumps and rises and stuff. It does very, very well. It's a comfortable ride. Oops, maybe I don't want this lane. There were a couple of reviews that I watched, and they said that the suspension was a little jarring. I don't think so. It's surprisingly good in my book. I mean, over big bumps, yeah, it's going to be a little sharp, but you've only got just a smidge over 3 inches of suspension throw to play with, so you're going to either bottom out or you're going to have to damp that pretty aggressively, so I can't fault it there. So somebody was mentioning, they wouldn't ride the scooters and small bikes and, busy city traffic and all that. So the answer to my, intro to the video, will it commute? Yeah, look at this. I'm moving along probably as good or better than most of the traffic. No problems. Yeah, you got to have your head on a swivel, of course, but as far as the bike being able to do it, yeah, it'll do it fine. And in a lot of cases, you end up with that. I don't know if you can see it on camera. The main lanes, you've always got stoppages, you got super heavy traffic, and it just, the side roads, the access roads end up being almost the same speed or faster in many cases. Whoa, man, that first gear downshift is rough. I'm gonna have to remember to leave that until full stop. Or figure out how to throttle blip it. It's tricky because it's a totally different motion than most bikes, where you can throttle blip or rev match on your downshifts. You can't really do it on this because the coordination is different with releasing the shift lever. It's a different rhythm. I'm sure it could be done, but I haven't learned it yet. It's something new, very new. And it's not really consistent because you don't have a huge range of engagement like you do with a clutch lever or something like that. It's pretty much all or nothing, and it happens within maybe 1/8 of an inch. Occasionally here in Houston, you'll see Grom riders. I'm sure there are plenty of Groms in Houston, but I don't see them out on the road much. Definitely not on my highway commutes or even the side road commutes like this. Very rarely you'll see a brave one up on the highway, moving along with traffic. And it's not approved. That's illegal because you got to be 150 cc's or larger to be up on the highway. But when traffic's not going real fast, you can get away with it. People. Everybody is glomming right around. I don't know if they want that lane or if they're looking at the bike. People keep sitting right on my flank. I speed up, they speed up, I slow down, they slow down. If you want to admire it, come up and wave and say howdy. Don't hide in my blind spot. I said it in my Sunday ride. I think with just a little stubby windscreen, a little half-high windscreen, and a throttle lock, this thing would be an absolute hoot to just tool around on back roads and side highways all day long. It's comfortable enough, it handles well enough, takes some minor twisties, nothing terribly fast. Everybody in a hurry. It's a good little bike, I like it. And the gas gauge appears to be pretty linear. I've been watching it as I've ridden over the last, 65 miles, and it's going down steadily. It's not one of those top-heavy gauges that stays full until you're a gallon or two into the tank. Of course, this thing only has 1 gallon anyway, but it seems to be reading pretty true. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday evening. I'm headed for my outbound commute, going back home on the Cub. This morning's commute was successful, uneventful. Little Cub did just fine. About a 18 or 19 mile trip into my work destination today, and did all right. No problems. Everything was just fine. Traffic's always a little hard to deal with, but the little Cub has no issues other than storage. It needs storage. I called my dealer today and ordered the rear rack. They did find it in their catalog. They're able to order it. Although the US model does not have the painted finish on it, like the pictures show and all the literature. It's not painted, it's chrome. I'm doing a little lane splitting here. I kind of look the ones on the website where it's the Nilvita blue, or however you say it. It's the same color as the bike, but yeah, chrome will be fine. I'm going to be covering it up with bags on there anyway. So they said that with any luck, they'll have that in before the end of the week. So maybe Friday, Saturday, I can go pick that up and put it on here. I'll go ahead and call up a couple of alteration shops today to see if I can find somebody that'll do the sewing work that I need on the Timbuktu tandem panniers. That'll give me a little bit of storage capacity on here. Those panniers are really nice. I'll do a full review when I get them on here, show you how they work. They lift right off. You just undo a couple of straps, Velcro straps that secure them to the rack. And when you lift them off, they have magnets in the back facings of each side, and they clip together, and you carry it off just like a briefcase. They even have a shoulder strap if you want to clip that on there, but I prefer not to have that extra strap that's dangling around. But the bags themselves are nice. All I need is a little neoprene sleeve or something like that for my laptop to pad it, and I'll slide it into one of the inner compartments on those panniers, and there'll be plenty of room in there. I mean, you store your lunch on one side and shoes and laptop and cables and power supply and everything on the other. Keep everything separate and happy. That's what I do when I'm on the bicycle, I should say. But it'll work well for lightweight moto commuting as well, I'm sure. I purchased those for a bike of mine, bicycle, I need to specify, a kind of a dual-purpose rock crusher kind of bike. To do some bike commuting and whatnot, and my secondary intent was for a Honda CB125 that I have that's still currently being restored. It's a small bike, and I wanted some kind of retro styled panniers that I could hang off of it, and those look like they fit the bill nicely. So I'll probably end up getting a second pair of those things just to have for this and for the CB125 or one of the bicycles. I'm getting lucky with the lights so far. See if my luck holds out. You gonna keep going before it turns red? Keep going. Cub's doing fine. 45 miles an hour, you still have a little bit of oomph to accelerate away from traffic. It's not bad. Again, I'm taking it easy on it. I'm trying not to dog the motor too much. Still in break-in. owner's manual, if I remember correctly, said 300 miles are is the break-in interval, and then the first service is recommended or scheduled at 600 miles. So I'll go ahead and let the shop do that, just so it's on the warranty card and shows that the shop did their first service on it. After that, I'll do all the maintenance. I'll probably go ahead and get the extended warranty just to have it. I've never needed it on any of my Hondas, but you never know. I think the only warranty or recall issue I've ever had on any of my Hondas was on the 2014 CB500X. There was a fuel sender recall and a starter solenoid recall. And both of those have been done. But that's not even a warranty item. That's just recall. I've not had any other problems. On my 2015 PCX 150, I got a 4-year extended warranty on that, and it still has a year or two left. Probably sell the bike before the warranty runs out. Yeah, people are stopping. I was having a discussion with a workmate of mine about motorcyclists, the riding mentality and awareness, situational awareness, that sort of thing, and how that parlays into being a successful driver for cars. And that's something that I've always held to be true in my driving and riding career. I learned to ride, drive, whatever, operate on city streets as a bicyclist, so that taught me to be hyper aware of everything around me and just be expecting somebody to not see me and run me over. And it served me well in my riding career. I've never had a down on the street. I've never had an at-fault accident of any kind. I've been in 2 car accidents that were unavoidable. Somebody, T-boning me through an intersection by blowing a red light, or blowing a left turn yield right into me at 50 miles an hour, that kind of thing. And nothing you can do about that. But yeah, I haven't had any tickets or accidents in a very, very, very long time. Something about the motorcyclist. Sorry, I'm rubbing my eyeball here. Some blowing dust in my eye. Something about being a motorcyclist, at least a successful one. You just have a different take on riding and moving around. Always being aware of your surroundings keeps you out of trouble. What started this rant is the guy in the pickup truck back there, speeding, tailgating, flying right up on people that are obviously stopping and slowing down. Just, the bad situational awareness, target fixation, I don't know what it is, but, speeding up on stopped traffic. It's obviously you're not looking at what you're doing. I didn't notice if he was a typical cell phone user or what, but as a motorcyclist, you've always got to be watching for those kind of things and be ready to evade, because the other guy's not paying attention, and then they're going to swerve right into you to avoid the situation that they've placed themselves in. So it's a chess game. You've always got to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. Always leave yourself an out. Always be ready to react. Some people find it stressful. I don't really, because I've been doing it for so long. It's just second nature for me to be, very observant and always be expecting the worst. I guess that makes me a little cynical, but yeah, whatever. I'm upright. I've got to do something about this left foot. I just can't find a good place to rest that heel. I know I'm harping on it a lot, but it's just weird. I'm part of it's because I'm not used to heel toe shifters. I mean, I rode a Passport C70 a long time ago that had a heel toe like this, but it was a different shape, and the heel portion seemed to be lower. The problem is, if you want to use the toe shift area, you got to have your foot positioned in such a way that you're kind of covering the heel at the same time, so your foot is always pointed down. You got your toes pointed down to the pavement, and that's okay, but you can't relax your calf. So I think I'll just replace this with a traditional shifter and be done with that little problem. Although, as I mentioned earlier, if you are in the right position to be able to use the heel shifter to shift up, you do have a little bit finer control to slowly engage it as you lift your heel up, so it prevents the driveline lash a little bit on the clutch take-up. But you can't rest your heel right there as you're riding, so you've always got to reposition your foot. And I have no idea if anybody's right up my butt. These mirrors have got to go. That is coming up. I think I'm going to order that today. Yeah, right around 40 miles an hour, 38 to 41, 42. It's about a 4 mile an hour stretch right there that it's really vibey. It's not bad, it's just, it sets up kind of a resonance or an oscillation that it's chatty. You definitely feel it. Below or above that, it don't feel it at all. It definitely helps to wait on your first gear downshift until you're almost stopped. Like right before you pull your foot off the peg, just stab it down that last time and put your foot down. Because if you're moving even 5 miles an hour and you hit that... Okay, sorry, I won't wait on you, dude. If you're moving even 5 miles an hour and you hit that downshift, it lurches and kind of slides the rear tire a little bit. Yep, there's fourth. I was about to reach for fifth. I'll get better. I'll get better. Shouldn't have jinxed it. I was doing so good on making all the lights. I do like the gear indicator on here, because with the odd gear placement and ratios on this, or at least odd for me, it's good to know that I'm still in gear when I downshift or when I come down, and I'm not just coasting down. Because it's not a scooter. I've done it a couple times, you go to twist the throttle and there's nothing there, it just revs because you're in neutral. Whoopsie. And in Houston traffic, that might get you rear-ended or at least cussed at, honked at, threatened. Light turns green, man, people want to go here, they'll run you over. So I don't sit in neutral, even on my street bikes. Never sit in neutral. I'm always in gear, ready to get moving or evade something coming up behind me. I haven't been out to California in 20 years, but I'd like to make another trip out there. I mean, I will if I do the Cannonball 2020, scooter Cannonball. The riding out there where everybody's used to motorcyclists and lane splitting is allowed, I wonder if the atmosphere is a little more bike friendly. Don't do it. You sit there, buddy. you're going, go. That's a bad place to stop. Ugh. He's out of gas or something's going on. He had his fuel door open and he was trying to push it up a hill. That's not going to work. Now, in a situation like this, I probably could just jump up on the highway because it's moving slow enough. Just stay in the right-hand lane, the entry-exit lane. Probably should have. Anyway. I'm still getting used to it. I don't want to put myself in any weird situations quite yet. When I'm on the scooters, if traffic's really thick like that, yeah, I do on and offs to avoid the lights and just keep things moving. Nice out today. Luckily the smoke plume didn't drift right over us like the weather guys were anticipating that it might. It feels like the winds are still a little bit out of the northeast, so they're blowing southwest instead of due west. Otherwise that smoke plume would be right over top of us. No, don't have room. Yeah, I do. When I get over there, he's not paying attention. I'm just going. I'll avoid this light. That's a long light right there, too. Highway 6 intersection coming up. These 2 or 3 lights through here get real ugly. I sit there for 10 minutes in that queue. So we're going to do a speed run on the Cub. Oh, I'm nudging 65. Maybe those reviewers were right. I don't want to do that very long. New motor. Speed limit's 60. If I can do 55, then technically not too much of a rolling roadblock. Of course, everybody out here does 15, 20 over the limit all time, so all day long. I don't really want to beat this motor up too much until it's broken in. These little motors don't have oil filter on them. They use a spinner arrangement to kind of sling, centrifugal force to sling the particulates out into a screen. It's all fine and dandy, but I don't think it works near as well as a filter. I think it's just for cost savings and simplicity, really. One good thing about it is you don't have a spot that's going to leak as easily. But then again, you know, you have to get in there and clean that spinner out periodically, and that means opening up your clutch case, gear case, whatever. Hello. Hey, test these ABS. So if you open up the gear case, then you got to have a gasket and all that. So whatever. 6 one way, half dozen the other. I am going to put a magnetic drain plug on here. I've done reviews on those in the past. I love those things. GoldPlug, drain plug, those things are fantastic. They really work. It's amazing how much junk they catch in your oil that's just sitting down around, you know, in the sump. And in some cases, that stuff never really gets circulated over to the filter, which means it's just getting stirred up in the bottom end. Nice camber, dude. It means that all the particulate junk that's sitting down there, it's stirred up enough to get into your bottom end bearings, potentially your transmission bearings, stuff like that. And it never makes it over to the filter. So that stuff just stays there and stays there. And I found that to be true with my Yamaha XT250. I think when I put the GoldPlug in, it had 11 or 12,000 miles on it. I have to go back and look at my notes, but I put that in there, and that was a well broken in, well maintained motor, no problems. Put the GoldPlug in it, and the next oil change after 2,000 miles, it was just covered in ferrous sludge and some fairly good size metal chunkies. So that means that stuff had been sitting around in the sump forever. I have no idea how long, or if it was fresh or whatever, but the subsequent oil changes after that, it was much cleaner. So that tells me that the stuff had been there for a while and it just never got over to the filter area. Anyway, most manufacturers these days, cars, bikes, watercraft, you name it, they put, dude, make up your mind where you want to go before you get there. Oh, great, now we get to stop. They put magnetic oil plugs in their bikes from the factory for transmission, for final drive, engine, you name it. So that, you know, that just goes to tell you that even the manufacturers believe in those magnetic drain bolts. So I'll be putting one in here. I put one in my son's CRF 110 when we had it. I've got them in all my other bikes. And every time I change the oil, I look at them just to see what they're catching, and they always catch something. Sometimes it's a big, sharp, shiny chunk of something, and other times it's just, you know, very fine metallic sludge that wipes off on a rag, you know. I'll stop by fuel stop up here and do my very first refill on the Cub. Yeah, so back to my Cub's top speed run back there. Yeah, so I'll eat a little bit of humble pie. The magazine reviewers said that you could nudge 65 with it, and I said poo-poo to that, but they were right. Of course, I was kind of going with the wind, and I had a little bit of disturbed air in front of me, but yeah, I got 65 out of this monkey. Indicated. I don't know what the real speed was. I think I'm going to get over so I don't get squashed. I think with a gear change, this would do really well. I would like to turn there, but everybody's glomming up over here. Yeah, so maybe a +1 front. This thing will be able to hover along at 60-ish without whining its guts out at red line. Now, you're not going to have much pull beyond that. It's just going to kind of hover around at that speed, I would imagine. You're not going to have enough motor to pull a higher ratio, just to get higher speeds, at least not to maintain it. But it should make longer distances on this possible, like my upcoming scooter cannonball run. Yeah, I've still got 1 bar on the fuel. What did it say here? 83 miles. We've got 1 bar left. Supposedly, according to the manual, when you get down to a flashing bar, that means you've got a 1/4 gallon left, which is 1/4 of this tank. So the gauge is not completely linear, although it's pretty good. If I still have a 1/4 tank left, a 1/4 gallon, and this thing is getting even 100 miles to the gallon, that means I'm getting, I don't know, what, 110 to a tank? It's not bad. Alright, if they're turning left, that means I can go. I need to get up to speed, bone up on all the Grom material, literature, tuning, performance stuff, reliability mods, all those things, because essentially this is a Grom motor. So I would imagine in very short order, a lot of the aftermarket equipment guys out there, Kitico, all those, they'll be making remote oil filter relocation kits for these, oil coolers, you name it. I think an oil cooler and an updated oil pump would probably be a really good idea on this if I'm going to be abusing it at full red line for several thousand miles in the scooter cannonball. And those are generally just bolt-on parts, so it's not really changing the innards of the bike, with the exception of the oil pump. But I don't think I want to go big bore kit or any of that nonsense on this. It would just be pushing it into a different performance envelope that it's not really designed to do. And there's like guys that get the Groms and do the 185cc big bore kits and all that on them and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You got a $3,500 bike and then $3,000 or $4,000 worth of motor upgrades, and you still have a bike that only does 70 miles an hour. Are you gonna go? You gonna go? You gonna go? I got people behind me, dude. Yeah, I mean, if it's just an exercise and can it be done, sure, but that it gets a little ridiculous on the cost outlay. Just get another bike. Go get a CB300F or the new CB300 Neosport or something like that, and lower it, slam it to the ground, whatever. Then you have a little bike with a bigger motor, and it's not really operating outside of its design envelope so far. So for the mods on this guy, they'll just be functional upgrades, safety upgrades, that sort of thing. I don't really think there's much I'm going to do to it. Conspicuity lights on the front. I might put something on the rear. I don't know if I would do something like an add more light bar on there. It's a little too big and bulky for this bike. But Denali has some, they got a flashing pulsing brake light that'll fit at the license plate. That might be a decent attention getter for this. Then front conspicuity lights, little stubby windscreen, rack in the back, and that's it. Maybe the oil cooler if I do the long multi-thousand mile trip. Keep it simple. Still haven't gotten to the flashing bar yet. Yeehaw! Yeah, after I get the couple little minor issues sorted out on this, especially the luggage rack in the back, I could use this to commute every day, no problem. It is definitely more entertaining than a scooter with the shifting, and just that's a little bit more engaging of a ride than twisting the grip on the scooter and going, and kind of that nebulous feel on fast, slow. PCX is going to be a better commuter overall for sure, but I get to take another look at him. It just says 4-wheel drive on the back. I can't figure out what that is. Somebody lost a card on the pavement back there. Hope that's not their credit card. Oh, no. Gift card. Doubtful that it has anything on it, but check it, why not? Yeah, well now I'm flashing right there. So 87 miles. We'll see what the totals are here when I fill it up. Poppy. I'll take that in, set it on the cabinet or counter inside, see if they can check the card balance, whatever. Right. And we're just going to put plain old unleaded in her. It's a very low compression motor on this one, like 9.8 to 1, I think, something like that. Lift my visor so I can see what I'm looking at here. Little bikes, you never want to just squeeze and go nuts because they'll burp fuel all over you before they stop. Look at that, 0.6 and I'm already up to the bar. 145, we're going to give it 5 more cents. Ooh, I don't think I can get 5 more cents in there. Oh, I'm going to be swimming in fuel before I get out of here. Oh, 150 right there. Okay, it's over the top of that bar. They say to never fill it up, past the bottom of the neck. Well, we're just going to stay with the bottom of that bar, top of that bar right there. It's a tiny tank. 1 gallon, 1.0 is what Honda says. So all of my riding over the weekend, my commute to work and back, cost me $1.50. Minus the price of the bike, whatever. Or plus the price of the bike. Okay, so that's done. Let's do my mileage recording routine. I'm going to take that in a minute. If it's got any money on it, I'll leave it with them to say, hey, if somebody comes back looking for their card, here it is. Okay, so back to ignition on. Windy. There's no windbreak on this. No windshield, no dash, no nothing. I haven't even entered the Cub into my Fuelie account, so I don't have a way to track it directly. I've got to add the bike first. 87 miles. 87 on trip. Yeah, brand new. So. And 87 on trip B, of course. Oopsie. Man, it's definitely windy today. Okay, so now I gotta figure out how to reset trip A. I guess hold. Yep. The little button right here is interesting. I didn't even notice it until I read the manual. That's the mode button there. Okay, so no fuel computer on this guy. I'm gonna get out of the way of traffic here and go over there and turn this card in. I got a glove up. I'm just gonna put them in my jacket. $87 miles on 0.66 gallon. Cool. We're gonna calculate that in just a hot second.